Welcome to episode 52 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football, shoot the breeze, and make even the replacement refs cringe. I'm your host and fourth string quarterback, Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co-host and backup long snapper, Joseph. How's it going, man?
We really have to do a show now that Brady's in his 10th Super Bowl.
Um, More like, does Brady even need to play in his 10th Super Bowl? Can he just sit this one out?
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know who their backup is, but maybe their backup can get some valuable playoff experience. How about that for your primetime NFL money raking in product? Um, all right, so we're live right here on YouTube every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, and I say every single Tuesday because that's our usual schedule for the regular season and the off season. But we have one more show left after this week that we'll talk about in a little bit. But that's our this Tuesday, and then next Tuesday is going to be our last show for the 2020-21 NFL season. So if you like what you hear and want to support us, don't hesitate to like, share, and if you're feeling extra generous, subscribe. You can like, share, and subscribe even if you think you could run this show better than us. So this week we've got championship games to talk about, some Super Bowl history to dig into, and of course, we're going to make our final prediction of the season on Super Bowl 55. So let's go ahead and dive right into the championship games. First game I want to talk about is Bills Chiefs because this was the worst game. So let's get this one out of the way first. Um, so, man, I guess the big I have the flow of the game here, but I think the real comments I want to make are more general comments about the way the Chiefs play football because I feel like this game kind of exposed that the Chiefs brand of football. I shouldn't say this game exposed because it was exposed before, but this game really shined it in the light given that this was supposed to be a championship game. The Chiefs brand of football is a brand of football that I think only maybe one or two other teams in the NFL can go up against. With the talent that they have, the schemes that Andy Reid uses, the type of player Mahomes is, it's just and their defense, which is I hate to say it, but it is a kind of an underrated defense. It just they're a really tough team to beat in a lot of different ways, and the Bills kind of let themselves be beat in a lot of different ways. I thought the Bills secondary had maybe one of their most awful nights of the year. They could not defend Travis Kelce to save their lives. I mean, it was so obvious that Kelce was just wide open on every play, especially those touchdown plays. He just looked. There was the one shovel pass from Mahomes. I don't know if you remember that play, the one where he was like the underhanded
No.
dunk throw to Kelce that went for like 3 yards or 4 yards. That was in the third at the end of the third quarter that put the Chiefs up 31-15. But they couldn't defend Kelce, and that was their thorn in the side. Really for the whole season, they had horrendous stats against tight ends this year. Couldn't defend them. And I thought that the Chiefs scheme defensively just really worked against the Bills. I thought that they were able to get a lot of good pressure on Allen, and they did let him loose a few times. Allen had a few good runs. In fact, he was 7 carries for 88 yards, so he had a 12.6 average. So he had several really good runs to keep the game going, but it felt like he was constantly frantic in the pocket, constantly under pressure, made some really poor decisions, some horrendous sacks, like 20, 30-yard sacks because of, he just didn't want to go down. He thought he was going to be able to escape and make a play. He even got an intentional grounding call. So I just thought Allen looked immature in that game. And granted, I mean, that's an easy argument to make because he's 12, but really he just looked like he wasn't quite ready to be on that stage yet. And I thought that the Bills O line did a terrible job, and the receivers were doing a decent job at getting open. Um, I thought I'm a bigger Cole Beasley fan than I was before that game. That guy's just I mean, he's a 4 foot tall monster that just runs across the field, and is not scared of getting hit. So, uh, besides that, we got to see the first successful onside kicks in the playoffs since 2015. And that's it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you want to say about this? I just feel like the Chiefs have their receivers are so fast, and Mahomes, even when he's under pressure, can still make these really accurate throws. I just felt like the secondary wasn't able to defend anybody, even though the pressure wasn't terrible. It was not like Mahomes was comfortable. I wouldn't say he was comfortable. I'd say he
Yeah.
was pretty consistently under pressure. The problem is when he can extend plays for half second, second, 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, these really fast receivers just break open. And he had so many times where he would throw a ball and just get bailed out by a receiver that was pretty wide open. So, what do you think? What did you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Bills were close for like half the game. Actually, even a little more than half. I mean, they're up beginning, and then they're only down 21-12, and then 21-15. Um, it wasn't until um, right, I know definitely know 21-12. It wasn't until the third quarter that the Chiefs just broke out. By the time it was 31-15, that was kind of it. And then the Chiefs drove down and scored, made it 38-15. So yeah, Josh Allen had some good runs. He also, those got canceled out by the several big sacks that he took. Chris Jones was running all over the place trying to get Josh Allen. um, and yeah, Stephon Diggs was, I mean, no receiver had more than 80, 90 yards. I think Diggs had 77 receiving yards.
Yeah,
Um,
Beasley at 88.
so
That was the most.
okay, so yeah, there wasn't super big plays for the Bills, whereas the Chiefs, I mean, Tyreek Hill, I think he had 9 receptions for 172 yards.
Yeah.
And he had 3 or 4 specific plays that were just huge. He had that one where caught it in the center of the field, running right for like, I don't know, 5-10 yards, but then he didn't get tackled and ran for another like 40.
Yeah.
I mean, he just had explosive plays, very dangerous, and yeah, between Kelsey and Hill, they almost had 300 receiving yards. So how do you stop those two guys? And then Hardman's fast. Hardman had a play or two that was really really good, and yeah, Mahomes, even though when he's uncomfortable, he still looks more comfortable than most quarterbacks in the league. Um, Chemistry there and the accuracy that he has and extending plays is great. So, um, yeah, this is gonna be an exciting Super Bowl, and I think the Chiefs are. The thing is, here's crazy is the Chiefs played well, but I don't even think they were clicking on all cylinders. That's the crazy thing. I feel like they still have a little bit more left in the tank they could show if they show up on Sunday.
I think they were clicking on all cylinders in the second half.
Fair, fair.
Not in the first half. Which, does that remind you of a game last year that is near and dear to my heart? Um, yeah, like they just, except last year they cheated, so it's different. But this year, I think I can't underemphasize how badly the Bills secondary played though. Like, they could not tackle, they could not defend anyone. I don't know what they were scheming, but it didn't work. And yeah, I get that Hill is hard to defend. He's the fastest guy in the league. But I think it was that one run. I think it was the one you're talking about where he broke off for another 40 yards. That it set them up at the one, and then that's when Mahomes threw that underhand sling to Kelsey that put him up 31-15. And at that point, the game was just over. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it as far as my comments. I think a more polished Allen could have made this game a lot more competitive. He seemed like a step below Mahomes as far as preparedness. For Mahomes, it just felt like it was another game, whereas for Allen, it looked like he was trying to do too much almost. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're going to see the Bills in the playoffs again next year. They're going to be around for a while, and I think as a Bills fan, of course, you're going to have emotions in the moment, but I think this was a sigh of fresh air for you guys and a great year to build off of. Okay, so Chiefs over Bills 38-24. Move on to the second game, which I thought was a much more interesting game to watch overall. Bucks at Packers. Now the Bucks took this one 31-26, but that score, interestingly, doesn't it reflects the closeness, but it doesn't reflect how this game swung. So, believe it or not, the Bucks were up at one point 28-10. Yeah, it was 28-10. In the early mid third quarter, it was 28-10 Bucks. And I thought, this is going to be a repeat of the regular season matchup where I think they won like 38-7 or something.
Yeah, they whomped on. I remember now. That's when the Packers came down and scored touchdown to the tight end to make it 28-17.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. I thought Rodgers actually overall played fine. He had some good throws under pressure. There was one throw in the first quarter. It had been backed up into the end zone by a sack, and then he ran to the sideline and connected with Lazard for a first down. That was a big play. And then he had some good in stride throws. There was one, a 50-yard pass to Scantling, and that was a touchdown pass that tied it 7-7. And then there were a lot of just really explosive plays. Like right after that, there was a 52-yard catch by Godwin, and then that amazing Fournette run where he juked for like 20 yards. Do you remember that one? It was
the one where he got down to the end zone?
Yeah, it was a 20-yard run to the end zone. I think he broke like 3 tackles. And then Rodgers missed Adams in the end zone, and they kicked the field goal to make it 14-10 Bucks.
Which, by the way, really quick, I think that's the one where he went for Adams 3 times in a row.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. That was frustrating.
Yeah. And then this frustrated me, and I can understand if Packers fans are pretty mad about this, but with 30 seconds left, the Packers had the ball. They had an opportunity to go up or at least kick a field goal. Rodgers threw that pick, and on replay, it was clearly a missed DPI. And I tweeted at the time that the Packers or the Bucks should have never had the ball at the end of the second half. And then, of course, after that missed DPI, the Bucks go for it on 4th and 3 at the 50, and Fournette makes a first down catch. And then with 6 seconds left, Brady hooks up with Scotty Miller, who just outruns the defender easily. There's no one deep in the secondary. There's no safety there to protect for a deep pass, which is like football 101, that with that kind of time left, you have deep defenders so that there's no big plays. And there was nobody there. And they score a touchdown.
Throw. Yeah, and what a perfect throw. I mean, that was just... Yeah.
Yeah, it was just I didn't understand what was going on there. I thought the hopefully for people that watched the championship game, whoever thought that the Packers have a good defense are going to question themselves after that game. Especially the coaching. So at halftime it was 21-10 Bucks. And then Packers get the ball to start the second half. It was just like shooting themselves in the foot multiple times. Packers start the second half of the ball. Jones fumbles. Of course, none other than Devin White picks it up and runs to
Yep.
the Packers 9. And then, Brady just throws an easy touchdown pass, puts him up 28-10. And then the Packers do come back. They made the game interesting, so they did score on back to back, or they scored 13 unanswered points. Rodgers gets the touchdown pass to Tunyon, and then Brady's picked off, and a helmet to helmet saves the Packers drive. Probably would have been a field goal, but Rodgers throws the touchdown pass to Adams, and then the 2-point conversion fails after that horrendous drop.
Oh, that's one of those where I say they need to get fired.
Yeah, that was just awful. There was actually, I was going to mention there was a receiver in the Chiefs game early on that dropped one of those kind of passes from Mahomes. I didn't get the number of the player who did it, but it was a horrendous drop too. So then at this point it's 28-23. And going for the 2 points made perfect sense, because who cares if you're 23 or 24? It's still a touchdown game. So if you can get the 2, then you're down by a field goal. So that was the right call. But then, the Packers' chances really increase after Brady throws another pick. He throws his 3rd pick of the night to Jaire Alexander. And then the Bucks force a 3 and out, or at least it was a punt. I don't remember if it was a 3 and out or not. And I'm sorry, that was his 2nd pick. And then on the next drive, he gets picked by Alexander again. Bucks defend again, and then he gets that. I think it was that Gronk's first? Yeah, it was his first and only reception. Was that huge?
Yes.
29-yard reception with 4:50 left in the fourth quarter.
The Bucks almost got a block in the back though. Man, if when you see the replay, if the Packer had just turned slightly a little bit more, it would have been a block in the back, and that block is what set Gronk up for that great run afterwards.
Yeah, 48-year-old Rob Gronkowski ran the ball 29 yards, and that gave the Bucks enough to kick the field goal. So now we're in the 31-23, and the Packers at this point had to have a touchdown and a 2-point. And here's where I think the coaching really failed them. With 2:09 left in the fourth quarter of the NFC Championship game, 4th and goal at the 8-yard line, the Packers kick a field goal instead of going for the touchdown.
Great decision.
And yeah, I mean, I just don't even understand how in any universe you could even argue for that call. Because if you go for the touchdown and you don't get it, then you just are where you left off, which is you're 8 points behind and still need another touchdown. Yeah. By going and also it's a turnover on downs, which sets up the Bucks at their 8. And by kicking the field goal, they still had 3 timeouts, I think. So they were still, in the range of being able to get the ball back if they could get a 3 and out.
Yeah.
But by kicking the field goal, not only does the field goal still mean you have to score a touchdown, but it also means that at best case scenario, you're probably going to get a touchback, and the Bucks start at their 25. So no aspect of that made sense. That was a big And then they never recovered after that. The Bucks ran out the clock and won. So fundamentally, I just thought Brady was way too comfortable in that game. There was only one sack. He did throw the 3 picks, but honestly, I think only one of them was like bad. The other 2 were more like, I'm just going to shoot the ball out there and hope for a big play. They definitely were angling towards the big play in that game, and it paid off. But they were 9 for 14 on third down. The Packers just couldn't defend third down in that game, and they couldn't get to Brady. And when you can't get to Brady, he's going to pick you apart like that, and he's got the receivers to do it. Yeah. So I think, to me, that's going to be the interesting question about the Super Bowl, is if the Chiefs can get to Brady. I think without a doubt that it could be a romp. But if they don't get to Brady, then we could see a really close, 30-plus point game. And I'm hoping for the latter. Okay,
yeah, Brady looks so comfortable. He still has some zip on his throws.
Yeah, he does. He does. Especially on that throw to Drew Brees' son. Okay, so moving on to our next quick segment, which is Who Wrecked Face this week. We've got a truncated playoff list here. So Joseph had 1, and then I had a couple I wanted to point out.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions on 11 targets for 172 yards. One was long for 71, and just had at least 3 or 4 plays that were just really explosive and just helped the Chiefs win. So,
Devin White, who would have thought he would show up on this list again, had 15 tackles.
15?
Yeah. 15 tackles and a fumble recovery. And then Shaq Barrett sacked Rodgers 3 times, had 4 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for loss, 5 total tackles. So that's what they call living in the backfield. Yeah, I'm excited, dude. Honestly, I'm excited to see this defense play the Chiefs. I really want to see what they can do.
Yeah. They caused enough pressure.
Will the O-line cheat again? We'll have to find out. Tune in on Sunday at 3:30. Okay, so our next segment is one that Joseph actually thought up. So I'm going to let you take the lead on this one and explain what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so I saw on ESPN, didn't go over, it was a video. It was one of those like 2-3 minute videos of taking a clip from some sports show that ESPN does. And I didn't listen to it, but I saw the headline. It's like, is this the greatest quarterback Super Bowl of all time? Basically, looking at the 2 quarterbacks that are playing, is this the greatest combination of quarterbacks that have played in Super Bowl? So I got me thinking, okay, well, how are they evaluating that? Right? Are they evaluating based on career, evaluating based on when they played? I'm reminded of 2015 with Peyton Manning and Cam Newton. At that time, Cam Newton was playing better than Peyton Manning, and I wouldn't have put that up there as a high list because of how he was. So it's okay. Are they looking at like at the time or overall career meeting up? A good example we'll go over is Tom Brady versus Kurt Warner. That was early on, so how do we analyze that? So I figured, okay, Jeremy and I looked at the history. I went back to the 80s. And looked at these combinations of quarterbacks and thought, what is the best combination? I think Jeremy and I did the same criteria. I looked at the time and overall career. So at the time, completely independent how many seasons they played. Basically, after that season that they played with the Super Bowl, how were they considered, how good they were? And then also their overall career, such that the Peyton Manning one in 2015 maybe could count because you're looking at Peyton Manning's career and not how he was, pretty poor in that season. So I came up with a top 5 And right now I have 6. I have top 5 for the at the time, but haven't decided which order yet. And then I have 6, figure out which one to get rid of for overall career. That we didn't really have a set amount of which ones to pick, but we just wanted to go over what our top 5 or whatever was, and how we kind of figured out belongs where. So I can go ahead and
So real quick before you go, so the top 5 is just where they were at the time that they played in the Super Bowl?
No, I did both. So I did a top 5 for at the time, like where they were, how good they were at the time when they played, and then a top 5 for like career matchup. So one instance would be, sorry, Kurt Warner versus Tom Brady in 2001. Even though Tom Brady had done nothing at the time, that would be high up there because he's one of the greatest, and Kurt Warner played as well. So like their career, so like just looking at the player, regardless of when they
okay
counts. So I did 2 lists.
Okay. Yeah, I think my list, I only made one list, but I think it kind of combined the two such that it really I guess it factored in how good we would consider the player now, and then retroactively apply that to the Super Bowl that they were in.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So I'll be curious to hear how that breaks down. So these are not in order. I did not have time to put these in order. And the overall career one is very tough. But the at the time one is a little bit easier. So my top 5, again, not in order. 1984, Joe Montana versus Dan Marino. This was only Dan Marino's second year, but he decided to put up one of the greatest seasons of all time. And Joe Montana was actually just coming into his own. But this is definitely noteworthy. This is the best one of the 80s, no doubt. And it's also better than anything in the 90s as well. Troy Aikman and John Elway are grossly overrated. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say grossly there. And Brett Favre is top 10, but he's not top 5. Even though Joe Montana made it top 5, Dan Marino is, and Joe Montana Dan Marino was a great matchup. So the next one, you have to jump from 1984 all the way to 2009. I'm not doing Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah.
You're not doing Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Hasselbeck?
I was thinking Kurt Warner, but yeah, I'm not doing Matt Hasselbeck, Roethlisberger, or Brad Johnson, Rich Gannon, or even here we go. Here's the worst one: Trent Dilfer, Kerry Collins, 2000.
Well, after all you've ripped on Big Ben for not being a Hall of Famer, you can't include him on any list. You're not allowed to.
Not even the one against Aaron Rodgers, because at the time Aaron Rodgers, that actually wasn't his best year. So it was the next year. Good. All right. So this one though, just I think might take the cake. 2009, Drew Brees versus Peyton Manning. If we're looking at, so at the time, right, Peyton Manning was number 1. Number 2. Both these guys were top 3 quarterbacks in the league. It was them and Brady. So it's hard to beat at the time. That's when you have the top 2 playing each other. And then this is where it gets interesting. I jumped down to 2013. Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning. This one's a little bit less because Russell Wilson is still in his earlier years. They had the great defense. The next one though, Tom Brady, but also Peyton Manning was like the best seasons of all time then. The next one, 2014, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson. That one's up there. That one's really good. And the last one I have is Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, 2016. Tom Brady was still good, and Matt Ryan had like another top 10 season of all time. Of those, if I had to pick, I think the best one is Drew Brees, Peyton Manning. They're just both right in their prime. Not all of the other guys match up completely. Yeah, the Russell Wilson ones go down. Joe Montana wasn't as good in Reno at the time. I think the number 1 there has to be Drew Brees, Peyton Manning.
Okay, so just to clarify, I guess there's a couple other factors that could be involved in this, so I want to clarify to make sure our listeners understand. So I guess we could have done best matchup based on how good the quarterback's season was compared to like the best seasons of all time, which would have been a completely different list, probably.
Versus the best quarterback at the time. That's slightly different. That is different.
Yes, yeah, because they may not have had the best season, but they would have been considered the best quarterback at the time.
So yeah, I think my top 5 list leans more towards the latter.
Yeah,
But
I think so too.
That's why I think the 2009 one is probably the easiest one because it's probably still one of the best ones there, and Breeze and Manning both had really good years that year. So that one might take. So I'll let you go ahead and do your list. I'll do my overall career list.
Okay, so my list is who I the best matchups based on who we now know to be the greatest quarterbacks.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different. It doesn't take into account, like Joseph's list did, how they were at the time. And I guess we could maybe parse through that as I go. So I have Brady Mahomes this year. And again, this hasn't happened yet, but as in the sense of anticipation, I think this needs to be talked about because everyone in their right mind is anticipating that Mahomes is on pace to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time if he keeps playing like this. So
yes, he's a Hall of Famer without injury.
Yeah, in 5 years we can look back at this list again and solidify it, but for now it's more of like an anticipatory thing, I guess.
That's fair.
The next one that's this year, Super Bowl 55. Then I also had Breeze Manning, Super Bowl 44 in 2009. I mean, both. I think you have to put both Breeze and Manning in the top 5 quarterbacks of all time.
Top 3. Yeah, it's definitely top 5.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm being more loose with that. I think you can definitely put at least one of them in the top 3 pretty easily. So as far as that's concerned, I honestly think 2009 kind of just takes the cake because what other matchups have we had with top 5 overall quarterbacks?
No, that's exactly. That's the thing. If you want to put Joe Montana higher, you might say 1984 with Montana and Marino, but that's tough because then how do you squeeze in Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, Manning into that top 5? But that I think that 2009 is the only clear one with 2 top 5 guys.
Yeah, I agree. You've got Brady Warner in 2001, which I agree. Brady was a noob. And then Elway Favre in 97, Montana Elway in 89, and then Montana Marino in 84. And then I just didn't. I did look at some of the older ones, like the pre-80s ones, and I had to look at some of the guys' stats and realized, I think the way that not the way that stats were calculated, but just the types of stats that guys put up back then is just isn't it almost like a different category than it is now. So it was hard for me to judge those. So I didn't really include anybody on that list. So that's my top 6, not in order, but that's my top 6.
Okay, so this next list I'm about to give is, I think, very similar. I think it's the same thing that you just gave. So this is not in order. I had struggled with having one on there. I just got rid of it. I added 2020 or this year.
Was it Boomer Esiason, Joe Montana?
No. The one I got rid of was Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning, which is very close to Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, but I give that one the edge because Wilson had one more year under his belt. Well, like I said, it was an overall, but Brady's, all right, I'll give Brady over Manning. That's fine. But I'm going to do top 5, not in order, but I'm blending 2 of them together. So 2014, I think this might be one of the weaker ones. Tom Brady and Russell Wilson. That and this year with Mahomes and Brady. Now, Mahomes is better than Wilson, but we're talking there's still some anticipation, right? Who knows if he gets injured or if he has a, drop in his career. Because think about it, Brady was the opposite, right? Brady didn't really do jack his first, like 6, 7 years, and then like regular season, and then he, you know, had some amazing seasons. So who knows what happens to Mahomes? But I'm putting those together. And then the next four, Jeremy actually listed, I think, all of these. 1984, right? Montana Marino. 1997 is up there. This is probably one of the lower ones, but John Elway, Brett Favre. 2001, Tom Brady, Kurt Warner. And then I think the winner is 2009, Breeze Manning. I think 2009 might be the best for both lists, actually.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it kind of is hands down the best.
Oh.
I don't know why in my head the Russell Wilson matchups aren't really coming off the page. I think part of that's because the 2 Super Bowls that Wilson was in, he was still not that good or okay. So now, I mean, if he was in a Super Bowl now, then like say it was Wilson Brady or something, or Wilson Mahomes, then that might be up there. It probably would be up there. But for then, it's not as, I don't know, I guess I had some subconscious bias there where I was thinking about Wilson in terms of how he was at the time, but I wasn't doing that for other players. So I'm glad you put him in there from an objective sense. Also, is Jim Kelly, so Jim Kelly was in 4 straight Super Bowls.
Bills lost 4 in a row.
And that's the only time that's ever happened, right? Where a team made 4 straight Super Bowls.
Yep. And I think they lost 4 in a row, and they lost 2 to the Cowboys.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's our lists. Did you want to this is kind of on the fly. Did you want to spend just a couple of quick minutes going over the big quarterback news from this week? The Stafford trade, and then kind of the Watson drama?
Yes.
Okay. So Matt Stafford, quarterback for the Lions, got traded to the LA Rams for Jared Goff. Was it 2 first rounds and a third round? I think it was this year's first round, next year's first round, and then I think this year's third round.
I don't know which the third round was.
Yeah, I don't know which year the third round is, but it was a first, and a third plus Goff for Stafford. And the second first round pick was basically just compensation for Goff's contract.
Yes.
So really, market-wise, Stafford was worth a first and a third, which I think is pretty fair.
Well, the thing is, the Rams want to win now, right? And Stafford, I think, is objectively the better quarterback. I know Goff had that one really good year, but Stafford has not been in a good situation with the Lions. And so for the Rams wanting to win now, I think that is fair. The Lions, I think it's a fair trade overall for both teams, just with they have different objectives, The Lions will probably give Goff 1 year, maybe 2, and will want to use those picks and get their quarterback in because the Lions have more pieces than they'll just have quarterback. Whereas the Rams, I think the Rams, they have a good defense. They still have decent wide receivers. They are a little hurt on the run game, but this doesn't make them, in my opinion, Super Bowl contenders, but it makes them just below. Like, it makes them, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the NFC. But to me, they're still tier 2. I think the Packers are imploding, in my opinion. They're getting ready to implode. I think the Bucks and the Hawks are probably the only tier clearly right now in the NFC.
Yeah, I agree that that doesn't necessarily make them a tier one team, but it is a big improvement, and it will make the NFC West even more competitive.
And that's for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, the drama is he's requested a trade officially. Um, but there's also some weirdness that like the new coach they hired had the impression or that Watson was going to be the quarterback, so that's kind of weird. But he has requested a trade. Um, it looks like Dolphins, Jets, and Niners. No matter how you look at it, whether best for the Texans, best for Watson, what he wants. If you kind of average all those together, it's like Jets, Dolphins, Niners are the best three. He leans towards the Jets for whatever reason. Um, the Jets can't help out the Texans. Um, the Niners are interesting. That it for once, but I'll just say quickly for the Dolphins. I don't think it actually. I want to go with Tua. This I can go into this later when we do our show for the team. But we did that. I think it's better to and have our draft picks and build around because if two doesn't work, at least have a good team to then find a quarterback to put into. But we have to give up a lot to the Texans, Watson. So, what's your take for the Niners being a fit?
I think that the challenge that the Niners are in that I think some other teams are not in is the number of free agents that we have that are up this offseason. And so we're going to have to trade for some guys, re-sign some guys, rethink our cap space, draft some holes from an inevitable free agents that we won't be able to fill. Uh, the D Ford situation didn't work out, so we got to plug that hole with someone talented to be side by side with Nick Bosa. And all of that on top of the fact that, Jimmy's not a star quarterback, and we would love to be able to make an improvement, but what's it going to cost to be able to do that? So I'm a little nervous, especially since we only had, I think it was 6 draft picks last year. We have 10 this year, but I'm nervous about giving away the farm for Watson and then having nothing else to build the holes we're going to need to plug. But on the flip side, I mean, Watson will make the offense better. So, I don't know. I'm really conflicted about it, but I think with Shanahan and Lynch's style, I don't see them going for it unless they really think it's a beneficial trade for the Niners, which I just don't. I think the Texans are going to ask for so much that I don't think they're going to be willing to pay for it.
Yeah,
I think from just a purely like common sense perspective, like of the teams that make the most sense to send Watson to, the Niners are the like as far as good teams go, the Niners are the best. But I think the Jets have the most I'd say I guess free capital to expend because
yeah,
they're rebuilding anyway, so they can give up picks for their franchise guy, and they don't have to risk drafting, wasting another first round draft pick on someone that they is just going to get clobbered with inexperience. They know Watson, right? So there's a difference there, and then you can just kind of with future picks you can rebuild. Maybe they could do some trades. So it'll be a process, right? And Watson has to be okay with that. He has to be okay with the team not being good for another couple years, even with him. And that's why I was kind of surprised that he wanted to go there after what he just went through with the Texans.
it is weird, man. It
Because the
is weird.
Jets organization, granted they're retooling their entire coaching staff, but the organization seems to be kind of inept.
We can end this and do our predictions, but I think just this is obvious speculation, but I wonder if the Dolphins didn't have so much commitment to Tua right now. I think because the Dolphins, I think he expressed the Dolphins are number two. So like I just if plus they might get um with getting another wide receiver weapon possibly, though that probably take a trade away. Like they have good weapons, good defense. I have a feeling, speculation, that if Tua was not so committed to, they didn't have him, that he would go to the Dolphins. but he probably doesn't feel like that he's like the guy if he goes there, and you know, might not be good team chemistry, and I don't know. Like, the Dolphins like Tua, front office and player wise, and I just think that was something that prohibited him. I prohibited him from joining. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought. All right, so no commentators this week. To be honest, I actually wasn't paying enough attention to the audio this week to pick up a quote, so I was mostly focused on just watching the games. So we'll close out our show this week with our predictions. So last week, Joseph and I both picked Chiefs and Packers to win, so we both were 1-1. I'm going into the Super Bowl. I'm 7-5, and Joseph's 8-4. So unless we differ on our pick, I'm going to be the postseason loser this year. So for the Super Bowl, I know who I'm going to be rooting for, and I know who in my heart I want to win, but I am actually picking the other team because I think they're just a little better. So I'm picking Chiefs, but I'm rooting Bucks all the way.
I am picking Chiefs, and I am rooting Chiefs. Not super opposed to Brady getting another one, though I feel like it. I'd rather see Rodgers in there. Obviously Breeze, that didn't happen. But really, like, Mahomes getting a second one, building another dynasty, building his legacy, beating Brady, that would be great overall for him. So I'm rooting for the Chiefs, and I think they'll win too.
Here's what I'm looking for the Bucks D line to sack Mahomes 3 or more times, for at least 3 holding calls against the Chiefs O-line, for Brady to throw at least 3 touchdowns, and for Joseph's phone to be on the whole time so that I can berate him with text messages. Those are the 4 things that I'm looking for on Sunday.
We'll see if you get the last one.
We've had some good text exchanges over the years. I remember the Patriots Falcons one was a good one, and then obviously I don't think I did anything except maybe send Joseph a text of despair in the fourth quarter last year. So I think this year will be fun because neither of us have a like directly vested interest in the game. So it'll just be more fun, I think, than anything else. And overall, I think we both just hope for a good game. Just through and through, a good, close, exciting game. That's what we want from a Super Bowl. Okay. So that is a wrap. This is like I said at the beginning of the show, if you're just tuning in now, if you're just tuning in now, you're going to have to watch a replay of the show. But if you tuned in late in the show, this is the last episode. This is the second to last episode for this season. We will be doing one more episode next week, next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, after the Super Bowl, and then we will be off for the off season until the 2021 regular season starts. So make sure to watch the replay of tonight's episode. Tune in to us next week as we talk about the Super Bowl, and we have a special topic that we're going to 90% likely be prepared to talk about as sort of a fun special segment to round off our third season together doing the practice squad. So that being said, that is a wrap for this week's episode. If you enjoyed tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support our show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Practice Squad and at Neuralizer_. Just as a reminder, if you've missed past episodes, you can watch or listen to them right here on my YouTube channel. The show is online immediately after we go live, so if you missed any of our foolish banter, you can always rewind and start from the beginning. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.